Half Moon, Herne Hill. The Half Moon is a Grade Roman II listed public house at 10 Half Moon Lane. It is one of only 270 pubs on the Campaign for Real Ale's National Inventory of Historic Pub Interiors, was frequented by the poet and writer Dylan Thomas, and was a noteworthy live music venue for nearly 50 years, hosting 3 gigs by Atwo in 1980. In 2015, the Half Moon Public House was listed by Southwark Council as an asset of community value and is described by Nikolaus Pevsner as a cheerful corner pub of 1896. History. An inn has stood on the site at the west end of Half Moon Lane, nearest Herne Hill, since the middle of the 17th century, but the first public house known by the sign of the Half Moon was built by Joseph Miller in 1760. A letter to the editor of the monthly magazine in March 1808 records the death of a boy chimney sweep at the Half Moon on 12 February of that same year, having been taken in suffering from fatigue and cold on Dulwich Lane after a great quantity of snow fell. In 1844, Edward Allen's original tombstone, removed many years before from the College of God's Gift Chapel, was rediscovered in the skittle ground of the Half Moon, where it was believed to be serving as a cover or breakwater for a parish sewer. It is said that the tombstone had doubtless proved advantageous to the landlord in drawing visitors to his house. One contemporary source states that Mr. Webb of the Half Moon in Dulwich presented the college with the original gravestone of Edward Allen, which for many years had been preserved by himself and father in the tea gardens at the rear of the inn. John Webb is shown to be the tenant of the Half Moon public house, stable and paddock for 22 years from 1824. John Webb of the Half Moon public house, Dulwich, is also shown in Old Bailey records from 1833, providing a reference of good character for a prisoner named William Patton, aged 22, who was found guilty of stealing 2 live pigs and sentenced to be transported for 7 years. The census return for 1851 shows that Mr. Webb, the proprietor of the Half Moon, employed 5 staff. In 1853, William John Webb is shown as giving evidence in the Old Bailey in the case of Daniel Allen, aged 32, feloniously uttering a forged 10-shilling Bank of England note, with intent to defraud. He states in his evidence, "I keep the Half Moon at Dulwich. On Sunday, 7th Nov. Between 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was in my bar. The prisoner came in and asked me if I could change a 10/ note for Mrs. Gooding. I told him I could. He had a glass of ale and a cigar, and then left. I paid the note into the excise office next day. The prisoner was found guilty and transported for 10 years. The Half Moon is recorded as being up for sale in April 1868, where it is described as having been in the hands of the Webb family for the best part of a century. The pub at this time is said to have 4 rooms on the top floor, assembly room and 6 other rooms on the first floor, bar and 6 rooms on the ground floor, and large tea garden. It is said to be held from Dulwich College for 28 years unexpired, at £95 per annum and £1 sterling in lieu of land tax. A range of stabling is also underlet at £32 per annum. In 1878, the area of Dulwich is described as being a favourite resort for the working men of London for the purpose of holding their annual gatherings at one or other of its taverns, the chief of which are the Greyhound, the Half Moon, and the Crown. At this time, the Half Moon was particularly noted for its flower garden, lawns, and tea gardens. A newspaper report in April of the same year records the story of a smartly dressed gentleman asking the stableman at the Half Moon to clean his shoes, and the stableman receiving the princely payment of a half-sovereign in return. While cleaning the shoes, progress is all very well, but one of its shockingest sins is ringing antiquity's knell. The Crown and the Half Moon are gone, and now they the Greyhound attack. Writing in May 1896, Alfred Allison describes the new development. The picturesque old Half Moon at Herne Hill, with its low ceilings and quaint gables, was recently given over to the wreckers. Not a brick or a plank remains. In its place has grown up a gigantic modern structure quite in keeping with the new surroundings. In August 1898, the International Brewers' Journal reports that the new owner of the Half Moon, Thomas Casson, appeared in court claiming that he was induced by misrepresentation. There are 6 bars. The front bar, or public bar, is quite open and there are no screens round it. She states that the pub is never busy in the afternoon, that she usually serves in the saloon bar, and that a glass of ale and a screw of tobacco costs 2 pence. The pub at this time is also described as having a cash register. In 1921, Brixton Chess Club began convening in the Half Moon, and the club marked the change of venue by inviting the famous Russian chess player Eugene Zinosko-Borovsky to give a simultaneous exhibition there on Thursday, 21 April. In June 1930, police from all the surrounding stations were rushed by motor tenders to the Half Moon Hotel to help quell a disturbance involving 500 fighting Irishmen. The resulting police action involved baton charges, and 7 arrests were made. The incident took place on Whit Monday and involved fighting between rival supporters of Dublin and Cork hurling teams who played each other at Herne Hill Velodrome. In the subsequent court case, Lemeth magistrates heard evidence from Detective Sergeant Moyer, who said that when he arrived on the scene he saw a small body of police with their backs to the wall and truncheons drawn, surrounded by a mob of 500 hooligans. Tumblers were used as missiles, it was stated, and 200 glasses were broken. On 4 March 1935, shortly after the discovery of a burglary at the Half Moon Hotel, the landlord, William Nye Songhurst, died suddenly from shock. He was aged 47 years and is reported to have suffered with a bad heart. The Historic England listing for the Half Moon public house states that the proliferation of ornament across the surface of this building gives the whole a sense of vital unity through their sheer number. The Half Moon is also listed by CEMRA as a pub with a nationally important historic interior. Only 270 pubs meet CEMRA's exacting criteria, and the Half Moon is one of them. The snug bar, referred to as a billiard room in CEMRA's 1988 South East London pub guide, contains 6 back-painted mirrors depicting birds and signed by the renowned W. Gibbs and Sons glass decorators of Blackfriars. The pub is also noteworthy for the rare survival of joinery and associated fabric at the public bar. The large, uncompartmented public bar at the Half Moon is a typical feature of pubs built during the 1890s pub boom. Photos of the pub from the first part of the 20th century show it to be operated by the Southwark-based brewery Barclay Perkins and Company. The original entrance to the hotel is indicated by a portico supported by columns jutting out from the right-hand side of the pub. The Victorian mosaic tilework at this entrance mark out the words "The Half Moon Hotel." The rear of the Half Moon comprises both an original element forming a billiards room and a later addition constructed during the 1930s to convert this area into a snooker room. These 2 activities are still advertised in the stained glasswork on the outside of the pub. The poet and writer Dylan Thomas lived locally on Milkwood Road and used to drink at the Half Moon. Writer A. F. Churchward Tinsley, writing in a Welsh magazine in 1959, first drew the connection between Dylan Thomas and the Half Moon. He interviewed Dylan's friend, sculptor, and London Welsh rugby player Evan Samuel, who recounts how Dylan used to come to watch the London Welsh games, and when, after the match, the teams would gather, as rugger clubs do, for a few pints at the old Half Moon Hotel at Herne Hill, Dylan would be there adding lustre to the gathering. He was a great London Welsh Rugby Football Club had their home at the nearby Herne Hill Velodrome for over 40 years after World War I, where alcohol was not permitted by the Dulwich College landlords. The club adopted the Half Moon pub, with player Vivian Jenkins recalling, "If I had been given a fiver for every time I sang Saucepan Fatch or Callum Lan at the old Half Moon near Herne Hill Station in my playing days in the 30s, I should be a millionaire." On 5 May 1969, the Daily Mirror reports the story of builder Alec Graham, 40, who got Alec's ear was handed to him by the pub landlord, Bert Hyland, whereupon he groaned, "I don't want it," before popping it into a dustbin. Alec later went to hospital to be treated. His ear was retrieved after doctors called for a police search and successfully sewn back on. The landlord, Bert Hyland, was a former champion boxer who won the Irish middleweight title in June 1949. "It wasn't a serious fight," said Mr. Hyland. "Alec put the lock on this chap, who reached up and tore off his ear. I picked it up and handed it to Alec and told him to get it sewn back on." Alec is reported as saying afterwards, "I feel a bit groggy now, I just want to forget about it. I've shaken hands with my friend." During the tenancy of Robert Harrison 2006–2013, listed building consent was granted in 2007 for the formation of a new opening in the existing tongue and groove boarding adjacent to the existing decorative glazed screen between the front public bar and saloon bar. Music venue. The Half Moon was a live music venue for nearly 50 years, with bands having appeared early in their careers including The Police, Van Morrison, and Utwo. Locals still refer to an impromptu Half Moon performance by Frank Sinatra, who dropped by to visit his old chauffeur. A press photo of Sinatra's ex-wife Maya Farrow meeting her former chauffeur Dennis Parker on his first night as landlord of the Half Moon at Herne Hill would also appear to substantiate this connection, and subsequently date any Sinatra visit to the pub to the 1970s. Farrow is recorded as having stayed in the Half Moon for 20 minutes. Sinatra is said to have introduced Dennis Parker to everyone as "my friend Dennis." In the early to mid-1960s, the Half Moon hosted one of the premier folk clubs in South London, drawing large numbers of people every Tuesday night. The club was run by Ed Parslow and Charles Pearce, both of whom were students at the Camberwell College of Arts. Pearce was the floor singer and guests included Dave and Tony Arthur, Bert Jansch, Cliff Ongier, Jerry Loughran, Diz Disley, Pete and Marion Gray, the Hickory Nuts, and the Bruce Turner Jump Band. The Half Moon was a significant South London venue on the 1970s pub rock circuit, hosting performances by Dr. Feelgood, Meal Ticket, 9 Below Zero, and Eddie and the Hot Rods. Around 1974, local musician Stevie Smith started the renowned Sunday Jam sessions at the Half Moon. These sessions featured other Herne Hill musicians such as Steve Waller and Brendan Hoban, alongside an amazing array of musical talent from contemporary bands, including the Jeff Beck Group, the Rory Gallagher Band, and Thin Lizzy. Steve Waller went on to join Manfred Mann's Earth Band after Manfred Mann was recommended to check out a popular South London circuit musician, a singer and guitarist at the Half Moon pub. A barmaid at the Half Moon recalls that Steve Waller always ordered a triple gin and bitter lemon at the Sunday lunchtime jam session. Two remarkable videos featuring a live set of Steve Waller's Overload from the summer of 1990 in the Half Moon exist. The Half Moon in Herne Hill also has a notable place in rock history as being the venue where Chris Blackwell, the founder of Island Records, first met the members of Utwo and watched them perform. Island Records public relations chief Rob Partridge described the encounter. "It just so happened that Utwo were playing at the Half Moon in Herne Hill, a gig they'd repeatedly played through the course of coming to London. Chris had never seen the band and so went from the Bob Marley gig to Herne Hill and met up with the band. The dressing room is like a front room, and I just remember." Chris Blackwell describes the 8 June 1980 gig as having probably 12 people in the audience. However, by their return gig at the Half Moon on 11 July 1980, Utwo marked a milestone, as it was the first time they'd sold out a concert venue in the UK. A review of the gig by Bill Graham for Hot Press states, "For the encore, Bono leaps off the stage to serenade the audience from the raised enclosure where the mixing desk and us flunkies are located." Producer Steve Lillywhite is also recorded as being present at this show. Not everyone was impressed. Comedian Vic Reeves states that, "I saw Utwo there. I wasn't impressed. They looked like they wanted to be punks, but they weren't. Bono's haircut was atrocious." Music writer Michael Odell recalls a conversation with Bono backstage at Madison Square Garden, where he mentions that he lives near to the Half Moon in Herne Hill where Otto played, but in answer to Bono's question, "Were you there?" has to admit that he didn't see them play. Otto played one further time at the Half Moon on the opening leg of their tour to promote their album Boy on 5 October 1980. Photos of Otto at Half Moon feature in a photozine by Andy Phillips, documenting the band's first and earliest visits to the UK in 1980. A drawing of Bono's 1980 haircut, rendered in stainless steel by the artist Caroline McCarthy, now adorns the inside of the pub. The Half Moon was the venue where the Alarm announced their new name to the world in January 1981 and performed a second gig in May 1982. It also hosted the first ever gig by then Jericho in 1983 and the first gig by Gavin Rossdale of Bush. Rossdale says, "My first gig was in the Half Moon pub in Herne Hill. I was standing on the stage thinking, why the F *** did I do this? But after that, it all went pretty well." The era of new wave music in the early 1980s was a particularly rich period in the Half Moon's music history, with a succession of bands and performers including the Billy Bragg gig on 12 December 1983 was reviewed in both Sounds and Melody Maker. Pity Billy Bragg's doting followers, who arrived in their buzzing droves, didn't have the decency to stay for the main act. By 5 January 1984, Bragg had graduated to performing at London's Institute of Contemporary Arts ICA, which he recalls saying, "None of this bollocking about playing the Half Moon and the Rock Garden. This was a proper gig that got proper reviews by everyone." Writing in The Guardian in 1981, Robin Denslow states, "The Half Moon was also a venue for more well-known acts going back to their roots, hosting gigs by Steve Marriott in 1984 and Grammy Award winner Albert Lee in 1990. In 1998, the Bard of Salford John Cooper Clarke performed at the Half Moon. In 2003, punk rock band The Parkinsons played the pub. More recent acts at the Half Moon during the tenancy of Robert Harrison from 2006-13 include Paloma Faith, Kate Tempest with her band Sound of Rum in 2009, Rumor, The Beat, The Handsome Family, The Wonder Stuff, The Cole Porters, Wilco Johnson, and Tyrion Breaks. Chris Civis comic persona Frank Sidebottom appeared on stage in June 2007. The musician and founder of Two Tone Records, Jerry Dammers, also used the Half Moon as a rehearsal space during this time. The beginning of the pub's relationship with Two Tone Records dates back to the early 1980s, when bands from the label, such as the Swinging Cats and the Higsons, played there. A poster for Clinic's show at the Half Moon in 2010 appears in the book Classic Rock Posters 60 Years of Posters and Flyers, 1952. At the same secret show, support act Anna Calvi is said to have blown Clinic off the stage. Grammy Award winner La Rue launched her singing career at the pub when she was 17, after being encouraged by her parents to perform at an open mic night. She recalls, "I spent a couple of years going to my local pub in Herne Hill doing open mic nights there." The pub is also particularly renowned as a long-standing venue for live blues music. DJ Food was the last act to perform at the Half Moon before it was closed due to a flood in 2013. As well as music, the Half Moon has hosted regular comedy, with acts including Mark Lamar, Eddie Izzard, and Omid Jalali. Comedian Joe Brand said, "I have lived in this area since 1978 and in Herne Hill for a few years as a student nurse. The Half Moon was always the center of the universe for us, and when I started doing stand-up comedy, I performed there a few times." The pub has also been a regular venue for theater, and is listed in the London Theatre Report published in 2014. The play Botellack O'Clock premiered at the Half Moon in 2011, before transferring to the Edinburgh Festival in 2012 and New York City in 2013. The In-Betweeners movie actress Lydia Rose Belli performed in theatre productions at the pub in 2010. The Half Moon has also been a venue for Rollpalooza cycling. There has also been a boxing gym upstairs at the Half Moon. Danny Williams, who knocked out Mike Tyson in 2004 and went on to fight for the WBC heavyweight title, trained here as a child. The boxing gym was run for a number of years by former British and European light welterweight champion Clinton McKenzie. The charity London Community Boxing (LCB) was founded by people who met at the Half Moon Gym. Depictions. English writer and poet Richard Church recalls stopping for lunch at the Half Moon Tavern to rest the horses when moving home from Battersea to Herne Hill as a child in Edwardian-era London. I sat on the tailboard, and the foreman treated me to a ginger beer and a meat pie in 1988. The public bar of the Half Moon featured in an advert for Red Rock Cider, directed by John Lloyd and starring Leslie Nielsen. The Half Moon is depicted in the graphic novel From Hell by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. In 2007, as part of the Disappearing London documentary television series that was broadcast on ITV London, Madness frontman Suggs visited the Half Moon to interview boxer Clinton McKenzie in his boxing gym above the pub. In April 2008, comedian Ronnie Corbett was interviewed with TV presenters Ant and Dec in the Half Moon for The Observer. Scenes from the 2011 British movie Treacle Jr., directed by Jamie Thraves and starring Aidan Gillen, were filmed in the Half Moon. Recent history. The pub was flooded in August 2013 and was subsequently closed for a number of years. In 2014, the Dulwich estate put forward proposals for the conversion of the upper floors of the Half Moon into 5 self-contained flats and a mews house at the rear. But these plans were subsequently withdrawn following pre-application planning advice received from Southwark Council. In December 2015, the pub was awarded Asset of Community Value (ACV) status by Southwark Council. The ACV status of the Half Moon was upheld by Southwark Council in April 2016, following an appeal by the Dulwich estate against the listing. In January 2016, London's Fuller's Brewery acquired the lease from the freeholder, the Dulwich estate. The pub reopened on 20 March 2017. In April 2016, the Half Moon made international news after a picture of its barred list became a viral hit on Twitter. A book of stories inspired by the barred list has successfully been crowd-funded and is currently being designed and edited. The book hit its fundraising target of £4,000. A community campaign to save the music venue at the rear of the pub received backing from local celebrities including Joe Brand, La Rue, and even the Mayor of London, but suffered a setback in April 2016 when Southwark Council approved plans to remove the stage and replace it with a new kitchen and dining area. Whilst no longer a regular music venue, the Half Moon hosts live entertainment each year for Dylan Day on 14 May, celebrating the connection of Dylan Thomas with the pub. It is also used as a venue for the annual Herne Hill Music Festival and Herne Hill Free Film Festival. The new function room, called the Workshop, is located in a converted 1920s garage building at the back of the Half Moon. In 2018, the Half Moon was a finalist in the Publican Awards for Best New Pub/Bar. In May 2018, the Half Moon was named the regional winner for London in the National Pub and Bar Awards. In November 2019, the pub was named winner of the Griffin Trophy for Fuller's Best Pub.